Now we're going to show you how to make one of my old favourites. It's a never-ending card. It's a really fun card for children and adults alike. It's really simple to make. You can decorate it how you like. And I love it as well because it's quite small, so it's not a massive project. But obviously with the Scan and Coat, you can make it into a massive project or you can make it into a teeny one. And that's the beauty of the machine. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you first of all how it works. So we've got the bees on the front here. So what we've done is we've used the garden critters for this one. So basically we've got some little folds and it's only made up of 4 pieces of card. So it allows you to turn it like this and like this, and then you get back to the beginning. So if you've never made one of these, they are great fun. People love just playing with these, and the more you play with them, the smoother it gets. So you can see it just naturally wants to fall where it's just kind of doing itself really. It's just kind of unfolding itself. So I love this. So let's get started on this and then we can show you how to do it. So we're going to cut the mechanism pieces. So you're going to have 2 of the longer pieces and 2 of the wider pieces. Now they've got perforations in the score lines. So what we need to do is take them and fold them back and forth a couple of times just to get those flowing for when we stick it together. So we'll do it with all 4. Now before we had the Scan and Coat, and I used to make these projects, I used to have to measure them out, cut them, measure where I'm going to put the score lines. Trying to get all 4 pieces wasn't the easiest things. Okay, so we do the same with this piece. So again, just get those score lines a little bit softer. Now what we need to do is we need to attach this together. So when we bring in the original one here, a good way to remember which is the front, and it doesn't really matter because once you fold it and unfold it, you can start and stop wherever you like. But the front section here opens as a gatefold. So if you remember that, that's how we remember how it opens. So what we do is, and it's a bit of an illusion really, because you kind of think, how is this going to actually work? Well, what we do is we bring these pieces in like this. Okay, so how do we attach them together so that we still have that nice flow and that kind of elasticity to make it turn and revolve the way it does? So what we need to do is we need to glue. So we glue in 4 corners. Now we don't use lots of glue here. We don't want to do a great big patch here. We just want to glue in the corners. So if we do a blob like that, and a blob like that, and a blob like this, and then one like this. And then what we do, we align them so that these 2 are lined up nicely there, and then these 2 sit on top. So we do line up the corners like that, so like that, so they're aligned, and then the same with these. So as long as nothing is overlapping, because we need to keep the edges kind of right together but not overlapping, because then we won't be able to open the card. Right, so we put a bit of pressure on there. Now obviously, if I start to open this now, it's going to fall apart because that glue needs to dry. So while it's drying, I'm going to show you the mats that we have. So the mats for section 1, and they're all labelled as mats 1. So because this is the front, these are going to go on the front there. So let's pop that on, just so that you get an idea of how it looks when it opens. You have to put the mats on after you've glued it together. You can't do them beforehand, because then that causes obstructions on the card and it won't let it open, because you've put too much bulk, and it won't lie flat in those corners because you've got mats on. So it's really important that you only do the mats afterwards. So we have 2 big mats, and then we have these 4 smaller ones. So we will just separate these, and then we put the 2 short ones, or smaller ones should I say, at the top there, and then the matching 2 at the bottom. Okay, like this. Now, had we not folded along those score lines, it would have meant that we couldn't open it the way it needed to be opened. You have to remember that's kind of the vital thing about Never Ending Card, is that you must do the fold lines back and forth a few times before you put it together. Right, so if we take the original and we open it up, you see what happens on the next layer. Now, we've only just glued this, so I'm hoping that we can be very careful in opening this section and this section so that it doesn't fall apart. So the next section you've got are the mats 2. So mats 2 go on like this. So we pop one here, and then we have another one the same size, and that will go at the bottom. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I wanted to show you this because naturally you think that we're going to have mats here. This is what I thought originally when I did them. Mats here, and mats here. But that's not what happens, because we have to bear in mind that we're going to open the next section. If we put short mats here, or like thin mats, when we open it up, we'd have a white area inside, and you'll see that in a second when I open it onto the next page. So again, we pop this here like that, and then we pop these two on as well. And then when we go to open the next section, you will see that we need to put 2 big mats in the gaps underneath. So we'll do this one, and then we can open the next section. Okay, so that's how layer 2 will be. When we now go to open layer 3 this way, and remember, you've only just glued it, so unless you're going to leave it for quite some time, just be really, really careful. So now we've got 2 mats for this piece, like that, and we have the smaller mats as well to go on the small areas, so that every piece does have a mat and no areas are left without a covering on them, without a layer. So we pop this one onto here, and this one onto here. When you're making these, top tip is to take your time, obviously. Some of them are quite simple and almost come naturally, and some of them, like the magical lens card that we just did, are a little bit more complex. And the key is to probably just cut the pieces out that you need, lay them all out. When I first was testing these, I actually put pencil marks on the back and wrote on the back what they were, so I knew if it was mat 1, if it was layer 2, if it was layer 4, if it was ring 1. That's how I knew what went where. So do that, you know, do yourself a little test piece first and try it, and then you can go on to something more elaborate. And I think the key is for you at home is to just take your time, obviously putting it together and getting used to how it works. And now we've got our last little mats here. So we've got long sections on this one. And hopefully in a minute we'll get these on. We'll be able to just actually put it into operation, as it were, and show you how it does never end, for want of a better word. That's why it's called Never Ending Card, because it just keeps opening and closing without it ever coming to an end, really. So it's a very fun project to make, and it's easy. It's a really, really easy one. So let's just put the last mat on there, and then we can open it up and we are back to the beginning. So we've got the original and then the new one we've just done. We open it up like that. So we have the same section, and then we open it again, like that. It's really clever. I don't know who came up with this. It's a really ingenious idea, but it's a really nice way of using a lot of your little embellishments as well. And then we're back to the beginning. And obviously, the more you play with it, the smoother the mechanism becomes. And there you go. That's your never-ending card.